Hello friend, oi amigo, oi amiga. Welcome to this lesson from Welch Inglês Técnico. This is the lesson Ordinal Numbers. And in this lesson, we'll learn how to use those numbers in English that tell us the order of things or the sequence of things, ordinal numbers. Remember that this video is just in English. There's another video that has tips, hints, and explanations in Portuguese. So let's look at the topics that we will cover in this lesson, what we will learn, and we will cover 4 topics. The first one is the ways we use ordinals in English, ways we use ordinals. Second, we will look at the ordinals themselves. We'll learn what the ordinals are. Third, we'll talk about compound ordinals, those ordinals with multiple words joined. And finally, I'll give you a few tips to help you remember the ordinals. Okay, well, let's get started. Let's begin by speaking about the ways that we use ordinal numbers, ordinals, in English. Today we'll talk about 5 ways that we use ordinals. First, we use ordinals to talk about the order of things, the order of things. Second, the sequence of steps or sequence of events. Third, days of the month. We also use ordinals to speak about the centuries. And finally, birthdays. So let's start talking about these 5 ways. First, we can use ordinal numbers to talk about the order of things. Things can be objects, people, and in this example, let's look at some people waiting in a line. Or if you're used to British English, waiting in a queue. When we see people waiting to use the automated teller machine or ATM, obviously there's someone who's in front and someone who's at the back of the line. We use ordinal numbers to list them. And so someone is first, someone is second, someone is third, fourth, fifth, and so on. That's one use of ordinal numbers. Another use of ordinal numbers is when we have a sequence of steps that we need to follow, a sequence of steps. Another use of ordinal numbers is when we speak about the days of the month. For example, in the United States, Independence Day is the 4th of July, the 4th of July. So we use ordinal numbers for days of the month. Another use of ordinal numbers in English is when we speak about centuries. The names of centuries in English, we use ordinal numbers. For example, we could say that Beethoven composed his quartet in the 19th century. I had to look that up. Or we could say, I was born in the 20th century, and now we are in the 21st century. Ordinal numbers. Another way that we use ordinal numbers in English is when we're speaking about birthdays, when we're speaking about the year, how many years the person has lived. We say, congratulations, this is your 21st birthday, or your 40th birthday, using ordinal numbers. Or in my case, this is your, 59th birthday? Now let's look at the ordinal numbers themselves. We will go through the ordinal numbers from 0 to 24, using about 5 numbers per slide. And we'll talk about the word we say and then the abbreviation we use for each ordinal number, okay? So let's start with 0 to 4. Of course, the cardinal numbers, you know, are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the cardinal numbers. The ordinal numbers for these are zeroth, that's a th on the end, first, second, third, fourth. Again, zeroth, first, second, third, fourth. Zeroth is not used much at all, but it exists and it can be used mainly in math lessons. Now the abbreviations that we use for these are the digit, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 letters. It's either th, like zeroth and fourth, or first we put 1 st, st comes from first. Second, it's 2 nd, comes from the end of second. And third, 3 rd, the rd comes from the ending of third. So again, it's zeroth, first, second, third, fourth. I think that this one is the hardest of all. The very first one is the hardest. Now when we look at numbers 5 through 9, you'll notice that the abbreviations all end in th. I told you the last one was the hardest. This is easier. All of them end in th. And so the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the cardinals, have ordinal numbers 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Again, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I am exaggerating the th at the end. All of them end in th. All of the abbreviations are the digit followed by th. And now on to the numbers 10 through 14. The cardinals 10 through 14 have ordinals 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Once again, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. And again, all of the abbreviations end in th. Here it's the 2 digits, 10 th, 11 th, and so on. And it's the same when we move on to 15 through 19. All of the ordinals end in th. Just add th to the end. And the abbreviations also end in th. So here we have 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Again, I'm exaggerating the th at the end. And now finally we've arrived at the 20s. And here we have to pay attention because 20 has the ordinal 20th. 20th. It's not just th at the end. The ending changes to 20th, ieth. And now the other numbers after 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, we repeat the word 20 and then the ordinal for the last digit. So 21 becomes 21st. 22 becomes 22nd. 23 becomes 23rd. 24 becomes 24th. And the abbreviations are the digits 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 with two letters, TH or ST or ND or RD, depending on the digit. Well then, we've gone through the ordinals from 0 to 24, and we will talk about them some more in a minute. But first, I want to point out some traps, some dangers in the spelling, in the way we spell these numbers. I want to point out 4 traps, or as we say in English, gotchas. 4 gotchas to be careful with. First, the number 5. We don't just add th to the end. It is not 5th. Instead, the VE in 5 changes to an F. So it's FIFTH, fifth, fifth. The next one is 8. We don't just add th to the end because there's already a T at the end of 8. So it's 8th, but there's only one T. It's not 8 plus TH. It's EIGHTH. Eighth, eighth. The next one is 9. Its ordinal is ninth. Ninth. The E, the silent E disappears, goes away in the spelling of ninth. Ninth. And finally, 12. Its ordinal is 12th. 12th. And so the VE from 12 changes to an F, like in 5. And so we have TWELFTH, 12th. 12th. It is a little tricky to pronounce, 12th. You'll see later that we don't always pronounce the F when we say it quickly. 12th. Now let's look at the numbers from 10 to 100. 10 to 100, counting by tens. We'll talk about their ordinals. Okay. Remember when we said that 20 is different because its ending is eth, 20th. It's the same with the other multiples of 10. So 30, 30th. 30th. 40, 40th. 50, 50th. 60, 60th. 70, 70th. 80, 80th. 90, 90th. And then we arrive at 100, and it's simply 100th, the 100th. Just TH. So let's say these again. Of course, you know that the 10th is just TH. So we'll start with 10th. Now, 20th, 30th, 40th, 50th, 60th, 70th, 80th, 90th, 100th. We've seen the ordinals up to 100. Let's continue by hundreds. looking at the ordinals. So it's hundredth for 100. Let's look at 200, 300, 400. We have 200th, 300th, 400th, 500th, and so on. Those continue simply by placing th at the end. So, for example, if you make a call and you're waiting for someone to answer and they say that you are number 500 in line, number 500, you are the 500th caller, the 500th caller. Now let's look at the higher numbers. We'll use the same list of numbers that we used when we were reviewing how to count. So we will begin with 1 and go up to 1 trillion, but this time looking at the ordinal numbers. We'll begin with 1, and as you remember, its ordinal is first. But for all the others, we simply add th at the end to make the ordinal. So let's go. First, 10th, 100th, 1,000th, 100,000th, 1,000,000th, 1,000,000,000th, 1,000,000,000,000th. As you can see, these are easy. We simply add th at the end. Now we need to practice th. We've looked at many large numbers and their ordinals, but let's talk about some with compound numbers. Let's look at the number 231. When we were talking about how to count, we said that we read this one 231. 231. When we make its ordinal, we simply change the last word, 1, and 1 becomes first. 231st. That's the only difference. 231st. Again, if we have a higher number, for example, 3521, we know that we say that number, the cardinal number, 3,521, and its ordinal is the same thing except for the last word changes from 1 to first, 3,521st. 3,521st. We don't change the 3,000 or the 500 or the 20. Only 1 changes to first. So in English, when we make a ordinal out of the cardinal, we change the ending, not the whole number. Remember when we learned how to count and we talked about hyphens? Same thing with ordinals. For those compound numbers between 21 and 99, we still use the hyphen when we're using the ordinal number. So, for example, 21 becomes 21st with a hyphen. 55 becomes 55th with a hyphen. 78 becomes 78th with a hyphen. We've spoken about all of the ordinals for this lesson, but I wanted to give you 4 tips to help you think through and remember the ordinals. I've represented these tips on a graphic, and you'll see 3 colors there. Let's start with the pink color. And this is tip number 1. Tip number 1 is most ordinals end in th, like for and fourth. So most ordinals simply add th to the end of the number. Fourth. Tip number 2. This is the set of numbers I show in blue on the graphic. The tip is T becomes TF. T becomes TF. That's TY becomes TIETH. This applies to the multiples of 10 that end in TY. That's 20 to 90, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. All of those have ordinals that end in TF. So that's tip number 2, and I show them here in blue, and this is T becomes TF. Tip number 3, I show these in yellow. The tip is that 1, 2, 3 becomes first, second, third. 1, 2, 3 becomes first, second, third. That applies not just to the numbers 1, 2, 3, but to the numbers that end in 1, 2, 3. For example, 21, 22, 23 becomes 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Or 61, 62, 63 becomes 61st, 62nd, 63rd. So 1, 2, 3 becomes first, second, third. Now there is an exception. You see on the graphic, there's some rebels that don't follow the rules. The only rebels are 11, 12, 13. They end in 1, 2, 3, but they have their own names for ordinals. 11th, 12th, 13th. Finally, the last tip is for spelling. I've pointed out for you the 4 numbers that have strange spellings compared to the others. 5, 8, 9, 12. Be careful with the spelling. They are gotchas. So it's 5th, 8th, 9th, 12th. So look out for the spelling on these. We've reached the end of this lesson about ordinals, and let's review briefly what we learned. First, we learned some of the ways that we use ordinals in English for the order of things, the sequence of steps, days of the month, centuries, and birthdays. Those are some of the ways. And then we looked at the ordinal numbers themselves. We learned what the ordinal numbers are and how to say them. Then we talked about compound ordinal numbers, that we change the ending, the last word in the ordinals, not every word in the number. And that we also use hyphens for the ordinals between 21 and 99. And finally, we looked at 4 tips. I have really enjoyed this time together. I hope you have too, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.